youtube.com/MayhewMayhem. That's youtube.com/MayhewMayhem.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I am your host, my name is Michael Mayhew, and I am here with my co-hosts.
Hey everyone, it's Raven, and with us is a man who's had more cock in his mouth than I have.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dale, and also joining us is the man who loves to rub lizard bellies with other dudes.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg.
Remember, 30 Minutes of Mayhem is available on iTunes, but now, for all the Android listeners out there, we are also available on Stitcher and Spreaker. All you have to do is search MayhewMayhem. That's MayhewMayhem.
You could also donate the 30 Minutes of Mayhem via PayPal to help us become a better show. Just use the email address in the description, 30minutesofmayhem@gmail.com.
The first topic of this episode is celebrities becoming famous when younger, and then being a complete train wreck by the time they are 21. So, Greg, what do you think about this?
Yes, I'm doing the podcast right now. Go away. Some kids end up becoming celebrities at too young an age, it seems like. One of the main problems is these kids are usually like completely dicked over when it comes to what happens to them, because essentially when it comes down to it, usually they end up so screwed up later in life because they were usually not allowed pretty much any freedom whatsoever. They were never allowed to really have much of a childhood, and they were never really allowed to do what most kids do, because they usually had to spend a lot of their time filming, and they would have to follow like strict diets and that, so that way they would always like look the same, and they would have to basically just follow this rigorous schedule. And then usually what that means is that when they finally become legal adults and they finally have a chance at freedom, they don't ease into it. They just like go full charge into it, and they honestly have no idea what they're doing, because they've been led around by the hand throughout their whole life. At that point, they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they end up like screwing their whole lives up. Another factor is that if you're one of those child actors that don't successfully make the transition from a child actor to an adult actor, because there are some who like start out as child actors, but then they like transition into adult actors, and they continue acting into their adult lives, and they continue getting roles. Then there are some actors, child actors, who like as soon as they hit a certain age, like bam, they're dropped off the face of the earth, and nobody like gives a shit about them anymore. And the biggest roles they could probably come up with is maybe like a bit part on a television show or something. So you end up going from like having like everybody paying attention to you, everybody giving you free stuff, and you like living the life basically, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's just completely gone. And I mean, that's bad enough when you're an adult, but I mean, when you're a kid and you've spent like your childhood like having all this cool stuff in that, and then all of a sudden it's gone and nobody's paying attention to you anymore, like that's even like more emotionally damaging. Which is why, and then there's the fact that a lot of these child actors have, well, really shitty parents. Like the parents push them into acting, like the kids themselves didn't actually want to act, but their parents pushed them into doing it.
Obviously it doesn't just happen with actors, it happens with like musicians. The Biebs right now is a complete fucking train wreck, and all the stupid ass believers that are like, set Justin free. I'm like, he was highly intoxicated on multiple drugs and was street racing a vehicle. He deserves to sit in fucking prison.
With a suspended license.
Yeah, I mean, for Christ's sake, he was high on painkillers, high on pot, and drunk. Okay, I'm pretty sure he's not even 21 yet. Right?
No.
And
he's 20. I think he turns 20 this year or something. I don't know.
But so he was drunk, high on painkillers, high on pot. How you combined all three of them highs, I'd never know. And then he was street racing a vehicle, and somebody in his crew was cutting off the traffic so that they could do so. There's so many fucking crimes being committed right there in one act. He should have been in prison a hell of a lot, jail a hell of a lot longer than what he was, but because he was famous, he got right the fuck out of jail. Had I did that shit, I'd still be rotting right now, rotting right now in that fucking
You'd be
jail.
somebody's bitch.
Yeah, exactly. What the counter example of that is like Hillary Duff. You don't see or hear anything about her anymore. You just know that she was the only one that more or less didn't become a drug addict whore that come out of that Disney generation, pretty much. I mean, Lindsay Lohan, complete fucking wreck. Miley Cyrus, complete fucking wreck. Well, what's the other girl? The one other girl's nude on the internet. A lot of people, I love this when I read this. It just proves how fucking stupid people are. They're like, I feel so bad for Billy Ray and whatever fuck her mom's name is. I feel so bad for them, that they have to put up with this. I'm like, they're the ones that did this to her.
Yeah.
Billy Ray is like one of the biggest failures in the country music community. His one hit was "Achy Breaky Heart," and that was a
Back in
fucking
the fucking 80s.
that was a terrible
90s.
fucking song. It was in the 90s. It was a terrible fucking song for one,
I hate Billy Ray Cyrus. I hate his
and
daughter too.
it wasn't well. Anyway, so it wasn't a good song, and the only reason it was popular really is because it was such a joke. Everyone was like, "Play that goddamn shitty ass achy breaky heart song." That's exactly how it went, and that's why like everyone laughed. I don't. There was probably a small group of people, honestly, that took that completely serious. But the majority of his popularity came from that one song because of how fucking shitty it was. So he failed in that field. So he basically took his daughter and put her in that field and used her to make money, and now he can't control her anymore. So she's doing everything that she possibly can do, basically tell him to go fuck himself, and she's making money along the way, and she became irrelevant for a while, and then once she started acting crazy, because honestly, I don't believe the girl's crazy. I think she's just
She's a
one.
genius.
Yeah, she's smart as fuck about being the publicity, because there's an old saying, it's like there's no such thing as bad publicity, and the only way she's going to get any attention is to be the completely opposite person from Hannah Montana,
Mhm.
and that's exactly what she's doing. Guess what? She blows the fuck up again. Everyone's paying attention. What's Miley doing?
And she says that in all of her interviews. They're like, you guys are still talking about what I did on that award show, whatever it was, with that guy
Robin
that looked
Thicke,
like
it was on the
Beetlejuice that night.
VMAs last year.
Yeah, she says you guys are still talking about that. I got my name back out there.
Yep.
She says this in interviews. Every interview, when someone brings it up, she's like, you guys are still talking about it, which means I did what I meant to do.
She was smart by doing that, and I don't know how much Billy Ray gets from her anymore, but all the people saying,
Probably nothing.
in theory, if she was smart and she probably had something worked out to where he doesn't get anything from it anymore. But
Nothing but an achy breaky heart.
yeah, exactly, an achy heart that he failed.
I see what you did there.
That he failed not once but twice. But he made enough money off of her career that he doesn't need to work anymore. But all the people, oh, I feel so bad for him. I'm like, he's the whole reason this happened. What do you mean you feel bad for him? The Biebs, he's a fucking wreck, and he's a fucking punk piece of shit too. I have to agree with most of what Greg said, though, that all the money, all that being led around and all that, and then all of a sudden it's gone when they fail, or there's just so much pressure on them, and they're so sheltered that and they have the money that they have, and they have the chances that they have that normal people don't have, so they do what they have the opportunity to do because they don't have the normalcy. Normalness? Normalcy? Is normalcy a word? They don't have the opportunity to do what normal folks do, so they do what they can do. It's easier for them to get drugs and so on and so forth. So they cope with all the pressure and yada 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 by taking drugs.
Do you guys know of a guy named Corey Feldman?
Yes.
He was in a lot of 80s and 90s movies as a youngster. And I just recently saw...
Yeah. I said, oh yeah, because I looked him up.
I just recently saw an interview that he did, and he was saying that child actors are extremely vulnerable to pedophiles. Because what better job is there if you're a pedophile than to be around them all day and be their agent and basically be in charge of their lives?
That makes sense.
He said Hollywood is full of pedophiles and all of these child actors. And I forget who was saying it, either Greg or Mike. I think it was Mike that said they have shitty parents anyway. So the
Yeah.
parents just gonna leave that kid with that pedophile agent or whoever. If the child comes to the parent and says he did this to me, the parent's probably gonna be like, you've got my meal ticket, so you're gonna do what you need to do.
If you need to touch that dick to make these millions, then you're gonna have to touch that dick. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And then what choice does the child have than to, just internalize all of that pain and suffering? And then when they finally do drop out of, the fame cloud, what else do they have but drugs?
I'm surprised Macaulay Culkin's still alive, to be completely honest.
Yeah, have you seen pictures of him? He
yeah.
looks like a skeleton.
Yeah, dude. He's
he looks
walking skeleton. He looks like shit.
he looks
He was
like
probably molested. He
he
hung
loo-
out with Michael Jackson a lot too. I don't know if I believe what they said about Michael Jackson, but
he
he
looked
was
like
a child actor.
he looks like an extra from The Walking Dead. If I had a child that became famous and they came to me and they said, like so and so's touching me, I'd go to prison. I don't
Right.
care. I don't care how much money I would be making. Like just letting that happening to my child. Oh fuck that! I'd murder somebody.
Oh yes, me too.
Any situation, I don't give a fuck. And if my child was lying and I killed somebody over that, because I probably would murder somebody over that, and if my child was lying and I killed some innocent person, I'd probably at that point I'd just disown my child, because I'd be like, I'm in fucking prison for the rest of my life because of you and you were lying.
And someone's dead.
Yeah, someone's dead because of you. Deal with that.
Yeah.
Your daddy's in prison. Go become a drug addict, you piece of shit.
Yeah. I'd do the same thing though if anyone ever hurt my kids, man. There wouldn't even be a question. There'd just be a knock on the door and a big loud bang.
Nah, I'd have to make them suffer.
I just think I didn't think about the parents at first, to be honest with you. Especially if they do come from already famous parents. But the ones who do not, I always thought just the fame let them get to their head, and with all the connections and all the people they got, they just easily get to drugs and stuff, and it just goes downhill from there. Yeah, I think it just goes to their head.
And for the second topic, we're gonna do our little game that we like to call Spiel of Fortune. I am your host, and my name is Mayhew. The topic that everyone will be answering, and I will pick what I believe is the best answer of the three contestants. The topic is, what was the worst thing you did as a teen that you got punished for? Contestant number 1 is Dale.
So my dad caught me watching porn, right? No, I wasn't beating it. I was just browsing through.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And no, because that would have been the one stories I would have told if he actually caught me masturbating, which I wasn't. I was in the computer room, which was our old office, and it used to be my old room, and then my sister moved out, so I took over her room. I was on the computer, whatever, and the computer was like clear as day. As soon as you open up the door, you can see it. I was on these naughty websites, and he opened up the door and caught me. And the look on his face was just out of sheer disappointment. Not so much anger, but out of disappointment. So, and of course, I was like, fuck. I had that sick feeling you get, like everything just drains from you. This was late at night, and so the next morning he got me up early. It was like a Saturday or something like that. He got me up early, and he was just nonstop making me do yard work. And I mean everything, and he wouldn't help me one bit. I was doing stuff like mowing, and now I didn't mow just like my yard. Like I was mowing like my grandma's yard, my aunt's yard. I go on top of the house and I'd use the leaf blower and just blow the leaves off, sweep. Actually, I didn't even use that. I'd use a broom. So I was pretty much doing like a lot of yard work and chores and stuff like that, even inside the house. And he was constantly reminding me of how much of a disappointment I was at that point in time.
How old were you?
Oh shit, I don't know. Like I was just 12 or 13.
Just really starting to hit that age to where you're like, really discovering what's going on.
And that was when internet just started kind of getting a little bit bigger. And like I remember one time I was like, you were doing this when you were a kid, right? He's like, I didn't have the internet. I was like, damn it.
He's like, I had Playboys that I hid underneath my mattress.
So I had to do a lot of yard work. And like he didn't tell me I was a disappointment. It was the fact that he was disappointed in me. For
Doing what comes natural.
yeah. So.
Did your mom ever find out? Did your mom ever say anything to you?
Oh yeah, of course he told my mom, and she was just like, you handle it, and I was just like, fuck.
All right. Thank you for your answer, contestant number 1. Contestant number 2 is going to be Greg.
I think the worst thing that I ever did as a teenager that I got caught for was I actually stole money from my mom's purse quite a few times. It was mostly just to buy stupid shit. My parents eventually began to realize that they were beginning to miss money. They began to suspect me because I'm not that good at lying. Well, no, I am pretty good at lying, but I'm not that good at trying not to look guilty. So they caught me. They punished me because when I was doing this, I used to hang out at the mall every Sunday because that was back when we had a Barnes and Noble, not a Barnes and Noble, a Walden's, and I would go there, and because they found out about this, they punished me by not allowing me to go to the mall anymore. They took me to a therapist about this. Fuck, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something about actually like them not allowing me to go to the mall was actually like counterproductive to me as a whole. Right after that happened, after they went back on that and let me go back to the mall, I actually stopped stealing. So I never stole money from them again.
That I know everyone's got this story of like, yeah, I stole money from my parents. I'm like, I've never actually done that.
Me either.
Almost everyone I know has like stolen, even if it's a small amount, like $5 or like a couple bucks from their parents. I've never done that.
Like it wasn't much at first.
The more you got away with it, the more you're like, I could take a little more this time.
Yeah, and that's when they began to notice.
Had you just kept taking like $5 or a couple bucks, they probably would have eventually noticed it, maybe. But like just seeing it like a small amount disappear here and there, and then you took a bigger portion of the pie. Consistently took a bigger portion of the pie, and that's when they started to realize it, and that's when you got fucked up. That's that's an age-old lesson, more or less. Don't be greedy. Thank you, contestant number 2. Let's move on to our third and final contestant, Raven.
I was 13. I think my little brother was 9 or 10. I locked him in the shed. It would have been fine because I would have eventually let him out, but there was 2 glass panels in the door of the shed. So while he was freaking out and banging on the door, he ended up busting out the glass, which eventually I got in trouble for because it was my fault he was in there. He cut his hand on the glass, and I was in big trouble. I had to do his chores for 2 weeks after that. But yeah, I'll never forget it. Like it's like burned into my mind. He was just getting on my nerves. He was pissing me off. So I walked out of the shed and left him in there, and I shut and locked the door. And then I turned back just in time to see him like crying and banging on the door, and I started laughing to myself until I heard that glass break, and I knew I was fucked. There was no way I could lie my way out of it because he was still a complete mess, like I tried to murder him or something. Like locking him in the shed was the worst thing you could ever do to somebody. But I'll never forget the look on his face and me laughing, just standing there laughing at him through the glass, and then I hear crash, and I'm like, fuck.
For the second episode of Spiel of Fortune, I gotta pick a winner. So the winner is Dale. It was funny that he got caught watching porn. He wasn't jerking off, and he got stuck doing it. I think his punishment was the best for the fact that he didn't even commit that bad of an offense.
Fuck you, Dale.
So Dale's like the undisputed champ right now of Spiel of Fortune.
No thanks, Raven.
Oh, Greg, you went in on that? Such a minor offense, and he more or less was turned into a slave. Like, I'm surprised your dad didn't whip you.
I became a little bit stronger that day.
Mentally and physically and emotionally.
Well, mentally I was all fucked up because I wasn't sure if my dad was gonna whoop my ass or not still. Even though he was making me do chores, I was just like, it's coming. I just know it. I just don't know when. God damn it, just gonna get over with already.
That does it for Spiel of Fortune. So we'll see you next time, whenever that is. The third and final topic of this episode is things you were told growing up that you didn't believe then, but now you realize they're true.
When I was younger, my mother was very distrusting of everyone. And she'd always try to make me believe that you can't trust people. She always had an issue with every one of my friends and every one of the boys that I was interested in. She'd always have a million reasons why they can't be trusted. Back then, I was thinking man, my mom's crazy.
Man, this
crazy.
this bitch nuts.
I thought she was nuts for not trusting. I thought she was just really neurotic and couldn't trust anybody. So I thought she just really didn't want me to ever have a friend because she always took an issue with every single one of them. And even if it was something really stupid, like one of the friends I had back in the day was, she didn't listen to her parents very well. She kind of had a lot of freedom, not because her parents gave her the freedom. She just took it, and the parents were just like, whatever, do whatever you want, I don't care. So I thought she was just really lucky she had really cool parents. Yeah, she's dead now.
Oh.
She died of a heroin overdose. So I'd say that as I got older, I began to realize that you really can't be all that trusting of a lot of people. You really have to be a good judge of character when it comes to the people that you associate with, especially, and the people that you get involved with romantically and all of that. So don't get me wrong, there was sometimes she was wrong. She was just very untrusting because not all of my friends died from back in the day, but
I was gonna say that's something you should have warned us of. So what class?
Now that you're my friends, you're all gonna die because my mom said.
What class do you have? Oh, I have this class. Just so you know that if we continue to have conversations and we become friends outside of school, that eventually you'll die. Because you're my friend. Oh, okay. Crazy bitch.
Because that's what my mom said.
Yeah, because that's what my mom said. Oh, crazy bitch.
But yeah, so like I said, as I got older, a lot of what she did tell me about trusting people and learning how to be a good judge of character has helped me out. Have helped me out a lot in my adult life because I can spot them a mile away nowadays. Like I know within 10 minutes of having a conversation with a new person whether or not they're capable of being trusted. So I still to this day have a lot of trust issues, and that's because I've been fucked over a lot. But because of that, I've learned who I can trust and how to judge someone.
One thing I'm sure that you probably do because of your own personal experience with your mom's like, I don't like these people, and you're like, but there's nothing wrong with this person. She's like, I don't like them, and then your mom turns out to be wrong. Like there was nothing wrong with that person, but through your own personal experience, I'm sure you implement that when it comes to your daughter. But I'm sure you have more of a vetting process, I guess you could say, to where you actually you're not just like, I don't like that person. You actually, because of your own personal experience, you actually try to communicate with the person to see.
Right. I don't just judge when I look at them.
Yeah, you don't just judge a book by a cover. Oh well, fuck them. They're weird looking, so they're obviously insane.
That little bit of innocence that I still had back then, was when I was my mom's crazy and people can be trusted. I still carry a little bit of that with me now, and I give people the benefit of the doubt.
At this point, I've made decisions to get tattoos, and I had piercings and whatnot. So I've been through the whole thing of immediately being judged by my looks. Judging a book by its cover. We talked about this, I believe, in the last episode. Like I said, I've been classified as someone that sacrifices goats and worships the devil. The people that actually sit down and talk to me, they're like, holy shit, that's not at all what he is. He's not a person that sacrifices goats and worships the devil. It turns out he's not like that at all. Holy shit, was I wrong. But the people that won't even do that, them type of people, are the ones that drive me absolutely insane. I've had situations where people think that well, that's who I am, then they sit down and they talk to me, and then they're like, you're actually one of the smartest people I know. And I'm like, oh, who would have figured that I'm not, killing goats and drinking their blood while I'm, calling out the great Lucifer. Who would figure that I don't do that I'm actually really smart? Who would have figured? Turns out smart people can look many different ways. Of course, I'm not like a cocky, conceited piece of shit, but I kind of chuckle about it when I hear stuff like that because I'm like, man, you judged the shit out of me, and turns out you were wrong.
Haha.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the little like, yeah, broaden your mind, you piece of shit.
Growing up, like, I didn't really believe it though, but not only my parents, but a lot of the older friends of the family and other family members and stuff like that told me to appreciate the little things, and which I never did when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, all I wanted to do, the big things, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to, only do things that I wanted to do. And my parents did those things just to, see me happy because I was their kid and whatnot. That's all I wanted. I was basically selfish, but...
Yep.
I don't know how, I grew up that way, because, I had an older sister, but, I'm 7 years younger than her, so...
You were the baby?
I was the baby, yeah. I didn't necessarily get spoiled because, there was some stuff I had to work for. But at the same time, if I wanted to do it and I really, really want to do it, they're like, okay. But it was just to see me happy and stuff like that. But of course, I remember this one time my dad wanted to go somewhere in Ocala. I forget what kind of convention it was and stuff like that. But we didn't end up going because I was throwing a fit. And he was mad.
You piece of shit.
Yeah, pretty much. So...
I think every kid does that and ruins something for a parent at least probably a dozen times, to where the parent's like, I really wanted to do that, but fuck you, little goddamn brat piece of shit.
Yes.
I should have pulled out. Your mom should have swallowed you.
But no, I do things that they want to do. Like whenever I go home, if they want to go somewhere and they want to tag me along, even though it's like I really have no interest in it, I'll go because now I'm gone all the time, so I get to spend time with them. So it's just the fact that I am enjoying the little things,
He's like, I would so much rather cut my own nipples off than go, but but because you guys want to go and because I fucked you over so many times in the past,
I'll go.
But
no, I now that I've grown up, I do appreciate the little things.
I guess one that comes to mind is plan ahead, because I have a horrible tendency of not planning ahead for certain things. I end up usually forgetting things I'm supposed to be remembering, and that kind of fucks me up a lot. They used to tell me all the time when I was little, you should write this stuff down. I was always like, yeah, no, I'll remember it, and then I would forget about it, and that still happens to me today, because it's like, oh my god, they were right.
Well, you probably always heard growing up that appreciate high school. It's the best years of your life.
I was never told that actually by anyone, and I'm glad I wasn't, because that's a load of horse shit.
But it's not, and I'll explain why it's not. High school sucks, but what they really mean is appreciate the last bit of time period in your life when things are simple. Because everything after high school, you actually have to start to become an adult. Guess what? Being an adult sucks balls. This is the last point of time in your life in which things are simple. You think that oh my god, so-and-so's dating so-and-so, or oh my god, I can't get a girlfriend, or oh my god, these people won't quit picking on me. You think that matters at the point in time to you. The world's gonna fucking end because of all that. But guess what? None of it fucking matters. But that is the last point in time in which everything is simple. Unless something horrible is happening to you on, whatever. But aside from that, that's the last point in time in your life in which everything is simple. Once you start to, become an adult, you don't have a schedule. You don't have someone telling you, guess what, today, here's what you get to do. You get to get your ass up at the butt ass crack of dawn, and you get to go to school where you can't fucking stand it. You have a schedule that's preset out for you that you can't do anything about. Once you're done with high school, at that point in time, guess what? No one's telling you what to do anymore. Things become difficult. And that does it for this episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I have been your host. My name is Michael Mayhew, and I have been here with my co-hosts
Raven,
Dale,
and Greg.
Don't forget to check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spreaker. Donate to us on PayPal. And that does it for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed it, and later, fellas.